she's done beating up the mic.
Yes, exactly.
We'll move on.
So it's the right time for Right Time Radio. Sue, when you move your mic, it makes noise. I'm just
when I
letting
touch
you know.
my mic, it makes noise. I
Okay,
try
well-
to stay away from it.
And your timing was
I'm-
impeccable. So.
I am Lynn Donovan, and my co-host is here with us today,
Sue Hawes.
Sue Haas. And
The mic damager.
The mic
the mic
damager.
damager, cruel and humane person. And with us is a very dear friend of mine. His name, I call him Nico, but he publishes under Nicholas S. Casal.
Yeah, and that last name spelled Casale. So there's that E that sneaks in there that has nothing to do with the
I
pronunciation.
want to say Casale.
I know.
Well, that would be the correct Italian way to pronounce it. Yeah,
And
but
when my co-host was an Italian man, you all remember Tom Bruno.
Yes.
They had an in-depth conversation about how his name would be pronounced in other parts of the world. So yeah. But anyway, thank you for coming all the way down from the Springs to be on the show.
well, sure. Thank you
I'm
for having
so
me
excited. He has written a series of stories about a character named Mousy, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's just such a fun story, and it's something that literally has evolved since you were, what, six?
again. Six. Yeah. It started out just with, before I could even write, just drawing pictures of this character who was a mouse wizard and was, of course, the usual cartoon stuff of trying to get away from cats and all the other
Of course.
things that eat mice, which, the more I researched it as a kid, just reading random books I could find,
Yeah.
the more I found out that pretty much everything eats mice. So we had a very wide rogues gallery.
Even chickens.
Yeah.
Chickens eat mice. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's amazing. I love it that this has developed since he was a child, and here he is an adult, and he has written the series. And I mean, that's like creativity and fruition.
Yeah. Oh boy, we're gonna have to use that somewhere. Creativity and
down.
fruition.
And how long ago was it that I came here for the first book in the Mousy Fables
I think
series?
it was about a year ago. I'd have to
Yeah.
look back at our schedule
I think
to
that's
know
about
for
right.
sure. But
That was when I came for the Charm Fable, Mousy and the Golden
Yes,
Book, and today
yes.
it's the Courage Fable, Mousy
that's
and the
book-
Feline Prince.
and that's book 2, correct?
That is book 2.
And
yes.
if you go to the Right Time Radio Facebook page, you will see a link to this particular book. So if you, and I know you will, thoroughly enjoy the excerpt that you're going to hear today, you could go buy it and the other book as well. Now, is there any more of these published yet, or are they still on the...
No, it's still just the 2, but there is an
Okay.
audiobook version of the first one that's out
Nice.
now, and there's an audiobook version of this one that's in the works.
Very cool.
The narrator I found, he's great, Miguel Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
His voice sounds somewhere between Morgan Freeman and Lawrence Fishburne, somewhere
Oh
in
wow.
there. So.
That
You just
would-
got replaced,
I
Ted.
know. Why didn't we bring that audio?
Well, he's in
No, that's-
Tennessee.
Wait a minute. I'm
That's
insulted.
phenomenal. Well, yeah,
I love your voice, but Morgan Freeman.
I know.
Yeah, true.
And-
Well,
and
that
the-
is awesome. But you think it may be 7 books? Are you?
That's the plan
Maybe.
eventually, is to write
Uh-huh.
7 books, at least 7 books with Mousy as the main character. And
Right.
maybe I'll end up writing more in the same world and have other main characters or
Oh, I
something.
totally hear you on
And then
that.
I'll see where it all goes and what I'm inspired for. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like all authors, I kind of do have to follow the voices in my head.
Yes.
so
I
to
hear
speak,
you.
In terms
Yes.
of,
That's
I
what
do
I was
that all the
gonna-
time. So,
He talks
They lead
to
you
them
to
and
good
they
things.
talk back.
I talk to myself, but I do need an expert opinion
Well,
on occasion.
yes,
so.
That's what I
understand
say.
that.
That's what I say.
understand that. Well, I understand characters taking over, and there's sometimes they just scream at you, and they have to have their own story, and so that just happens. And I love
Yeah.
it that you're willing to give them their voice and write them down. So I am excited for more that you're going to do in this story. But let's first tell the readers kind of from whence you come. How do you say that?
From whence? Whence?
Say all of it. Not
I don't
just
think it's
From
from
whence you come.
There you go. Yeah.
from whence thou comest.
There you
That's
go.
where I
Yeah.
was going. I was trying to remember it.
I botch up quotes just because I can't remember. But anyway, Sue, did you know that Nicholas S. Casal, or Nico, as his friends call him, was born in Vandenberg Air Force Base in
I
California?
did not know that.
Were you ever there?
I know Vandenberg. No, but my brother was at Edwards.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Not quite an Air Force brat, but was born into that. Yeah.
Yeah, born on the grounds. When he was 11 years old, he moved to Colorado with his family and his father's new job. He went to Lewis Palmer Middle School, where teacher Susan Doyle, that was that lady that sang things too. Interesting. Sorry, sidetrack.
Susan Boyle.
I sparkled.
Yeah.
Boyle,
It
yeah.
was Boyle. You're right. Okay.
Sparkle,
sorry,
sparkle.
Sorry, I sparkled. Mrs. Susan Doyle got him interested in history by expressing to him that it was not about facts to memorize, but about stories to be told. During this time, English teacher
There's
Mr.
a teacher right there.
Yes, Mr. Todd Musey also taught him how to write, and he began work on his first piece of historical fiction. Though his family was fairly secular, he attended a youth group at the Little Log Church in Palmer Lake, Colorado. In college, he majored in history and studied various mythologies and religions throughout the world. After college, he became certified as a paralegal and worked at Walmart. That's where all paralegals
That's where the paralegals go.
for the next 3 years. Sorry.
I understand.
Do you want fries with
It's
that?
true.
For the next 3 while he tried to find a job with a law firm. After landing his first paralegal job, he still felt something was missing in his life and struggled with bouts of depression and loneliness. That was until he started attending the Messianic Jewish synagogue in Colorado Springs, where he met the Hebrew class teacher who would one day become his wife. And she is still his wife today.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I know. They're a cool couple.
5.5 years as of a couple days ago.
Woohoo!
Hey, congratulations.
Congratulations, yes. He is now happily married to Jennifer E. Casal, who wrote The Whispered War with him and is currently working on a feminine counterpart to the famous Hero's Journey, theory devised by Joseph Campbell. And someday we'll have Jennifer on the show as well. Welcome, Nico.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm very happy to have Nico here. I met Nico in a writer's group where we met in Colorado Springs.
Yes, I'm intimidated again.
Why? Why? You have your beautiful things that you do too with the community theater that I could never come anywhere near.
Do love my theater.
Theater is fun. Did a little bit of that in high school and college. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's good at it too, because I've had him read scripts for me during our
that's
writers
right.
group.
Yeah, I was reading from your play about the ghosts in which hotel was it?
Yeah, it's actually a theater.
At the Rialto.
The theater group.
Oh, in the Rialto Theater.
Haunted
okay.
Java.
Yep. Well,
Right,
that's the name of the play.
That's the name of the play, yes.
Yeah.
What was the book?
It came from the book.
Java Cupid.
Java Cupid's a series, but it was Java.
I'll keep messing up till she fixes me.
If
here.
she'll shut up, I'll. No, I'm sorry. Not true. I'm patting her on the shoulder, by the way. Java Masterpiece was the name of the book.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I figured the Rialto was a masterpiece.
Yes.
So, yeah.
We're going to
Anyway,
make it one again.
I know you will. More about that another time.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, we're close enough to the quarter hour. Let's just go ahead and break for commercial. And when we come back, we're going to listen to Nicholas read from this excerpt of this book.
Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Here's the keys to your new house. Captain Keyman, who else has keys to your new house? The neighbors? The friends? How about relatives of the previous owner? You need to get your house rekeyed before you move in. Well, how do we get a hold of Middix? Just call the professionals at Middix Locksmith Shop, 275-7787. I must go now and help others in need.
People make all kinds of mistakes with life insurance, like having some coverage but not enough to keep your family in the house, or only having life insurance through work and then losing your job. Want to avoid those mistakes? Get an Allstate agent. They can help you get the coverage your family needs at an affordable price. Are you in good hands?
Call Canyon City Allstate agent Trent Rundell today and ask for a complimentary life insurance review. 275-5762. Life insurance is offered by Allstate Life Insurance Company, Northbrook, Illinois, and Lincoln Benefit Life Company, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Jim's Tire and Alignment stocks tires for all of your recreational and outdoor equipment. Jim's Tire huge inventory means no waiting on tires for trailers, campers, fifth wheels, and ATVs. Whether you need tires for tractors, riding mowers, or any small equipment, Jim's has it all. Jim's Tire and Alignment. Quality, price, and service. Taking care of you and your vehicle for 40 years. Jim's Tire and Alignment Service, 1005 South 9th Street in Canyon City.
KRLN weather, sunny and breezy today. Northwest winds this morning shifting to the southeast to 10 to 15 this afternoon. The high today around 76. Mostly clear tonight, the low near 43. Sunny and mild tomorrow, the high around 68. 49 was our low this morning after a high of 80 yesterday. Currently 63 degrees at the Weather Center.
Talk Radio 1400 KRLN.
And we're back with Right Time Radio and Nicholas Casal.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I
we
want to
are.
make sure, because I keep
Yeah.
wanting to say it the other way.
Sally, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Casale.
He probably wouldn't punch you in the nose if you said his name wrong. Okay,
I hope not.
We are going to listen to this excerpt, and he is going to read it himself. I love it when authors read their own work. This is from The Courage Fable, Mousie and the Feline Prince. Take it away, Nico.
Thank you. Now, this is not the very beginning of the story, but rather is the sort of throwing down of the gauntlet between our hero and our villain. Darkness was all he could see at first, but odd scents wafted into his nose. Some manner of bird, the smell of dried grains. Then he heard the clucking voices all around. Focus, Sopher told him. Bring your surroundings to light. With great mental strain, Mousie opened his eyes in this new place he'd found. A place which he knew was somewhere on Lord Swine's farm. Roosters strutted amidst a sea of hens, the spurs on the backs of their legs reinforced with steel blades. Mousie kept his head low as he moved through the crowded coop. Hens sat in nests along the wall, each exchanging the newest gossip they'd heard from travelers or batting their eyes at the passing cockerels. Mousie glanced back and forth until he spotted light peeking in from around the coop's door. He hugged the shadows as he crept along to the entryway. He knew that while he used the spell Sopher had taught him, none of the strutting birds could do him harm. But he also knew that an intruder in the henhouse was sure to cause pandemonium. Don't want to ruffle any feathers, he thought to himself with a smirk. Mousie heard Sopher's laughter in his mind before she said, "Oh, that joke is terrible." The door was opened just a crack, and Mousie slipped through and into the light of day. Once his eyes adjusted to the light, Mousie looked up at a red barn 1,000 times his height. From within, he heard long, drawling voices. "I say, we are milked far too often," came one voice. "Agreed," said another. "I'm still sore from the last time." Mousie's nose twitched. For all the new and strange scents, there was one which seemed far more familiar, but he couldn't quite place it. He kept to the tall grass as he proceeded toward the great blue farmhouse ahead. A yellow flipper fell at Mousie's head, and he scurried to get out from under it as a duck in a black waistcoat passed by, muttering curses to himself. Mousie had barely a moment to catch his breath before a cloven hoof trampled the ground where he stood. "I told you," Sopher whispered. "You're just projecting yourself here. Nothing you see can hurt you." Mousie chuckled. "Right, I remember. It's just hard to ignore my instincts." A freshly shorn sheep passed overhead, white as cotton. The young mouse took a moment to regain his bearings, then resumed his journey to the farmhouse. There on the porch, he saw the source of the familiar smell. A dog slept on a mat in front of the door. The dog had a stretched body, nubby legs, and a long pointed snout. He wore a vest, and a top hat rested on the floor next to his head. Mousie climbed the 3 steps onto the porch, mindful of the knotholes lest he fall through. Excuse me," he said in a low voice as he drew near the canine watch beast. The dog snorted and jumped up to his feet, his wet nose grasping at every scent in the air. "Down here," Mousie said and waved his staff. With a confused shake of his head, the dog pressed his nose up close to Mousie's chest, his nostrils furiously taking in breath after breath. His eyes locked on Mousie's and his ears pricked up. "I can see you, vermin, but I cannot smell you. Why?" The dog's lips curled up, revealing his sharp teeth. Mousie shrugged. "I need to speak with Lord Swine." The dog snorted. His lordship has no time for visitors, especially nasty pests like you." "Please?" Mousie grasped his paws together, letting his staff rest in the crook of his arm. "It's very important." "Leave!" the canine barked in his face. Mousie stumbled back at the dog's threat. "Begone, wretch!" "Fine," Mousie crossed his arms. "Then you can explain to your lord why you refused a visit from Mousefridsaurus himself." Mousie stuck his nose up in the air and turned his back on the stubborn dog. "Who?" the dog said. Mousie's ears dropped, but he perked them back up instantly. "Yes, you heard me right," he said, trying to mimic his mother's tone whenever she scolded him. "The Mousefridsaurus, the wizard who defeated Queen Felicia and—" "Never heard of you," the guard dog barked. "Get lost."
Oh.
"Just walk through the wall," Sophair told Mousie. "You're just projecting yourself, remember? You're not actually here." "I don't want them to know I can do that," Mousie responded. "If I can help it, I want to keep all I can do a secret from these beasts." "Calm down, Worst," came a small voice from behind Mousie. Another mouse approached, one wearing scarlet robes and goldfish skulls on his shoulders. Like Mousie, he carried a staff which was taller than he was, but at the top of his staff sat a glass bead. From this older mouse's chin hung a long white tuft of fur. "Sir Magos," said the dog, lowering his head and averting his eyes. The crimson-clad mouse shook his head at the dog. "This young pup could have found a great many ways into the house if he really wanted. But he chose to be polite and come to the front door. I dare say such manners should be rewarded, not punished." The old mouse pointed his staff at the dog. "Don't you agree, buddy?" The dog gave an embarrassed smile and shrugged his shoulders. "I guess you're right, Sir Magos, but something's off about him. I can't smell him." "Yes, I see how that would be confusing," said Magos with a nod. He turned to Mousie. "But that's because you're not really here, am I right, pup?" Mousie scratched the back of his head. Yeah, you got me." "Can't pull the wool over this old wizard's eyes," Magos chuckled, causing his beard to ripple. "Even if those eyes aren't what they used to be." As the very eyes he spoke of met Mousie's, the younger mouse could almost swear he saw stars glimmering in those black pupils. "You're a wizard too?" squeaked Mousie. Magos twisted his beard around one finger and laughed. "I know, never would have guessed, would you? What with the robe, the stave, the beard, and all."
That's what I was thinking.
And I didn't get this far by passing up opportunities to learn. So I'll make you a deal. I'll escort you to Lord Swine's throne room in exchange for a few moments of your time. Mousie gave the elder rodent a skeptical gaze. "Moments of my time to do what?" "Talk," said Magos. "Just to speak together. You tell me a little about your magic, and I'll tell you a little bit about mine." Mousie tapped his chin with his paw for a moment and looked the Scarlet Wizard over. Someone who'd been studying magic as long as he surely knew far more than Mousie had learned in his much shorter time. What could Mousie possibly have to teach him? Unless he suspects I know Volpa, and he's after the secrets of eternal life. Yes, it was possible. Such an old mouse would certainly desire eternal life with the end so close in sight. But then how could this stranger have guessed so easily that Mousie had learned the key to endless days? "Well," Magos leaned in, "what's the matter, pup? You get your tongue caught in a snap trap?" "Yes," said Mousie. "Really?" chuckled Magos. "Your diction is surprisingly good considering your injury." Mousie rolled his eyes. "No, I mean, yes, I'll take a little time to talk with you about magic. I'd love to learn whatever you'd like to teach me." "I suspect we'll teach each other," said Magos. The old mouse gestured with his paw for Worst to stand aside, and the dachshund shuffled out of the way. The inside of the farmhouse was just as impressive as the outside. The ceiling seemed as far away as the sky, and old paintings of some truly strange creatures lined the walls. Mousie could only assume the faces in the paintings were those of tall apes, and every time he looked up at those faces baring their bone-white teeth, he felt a pit of dread grow in his gut. So he looked away instead, to the patterns of flowers and shamrocks on the wallpaper. He admired the beautiful colors on each petal. Each flower was so perfectly symmetrical, as if it were not really a flower, but a beast merely pretending to be one. Mousie shuddered and looked away, now directing his eyes at the wooden floor. Probably better that he watched the floor anyway, given all the cracks and knotholes. "For the last time, Kitlet, no!" came a deep voice from down the hall. Magos led Mousie closer, but when his nostrils filled with the most pungent of stenches, Mousie suddenly felt he should turn back. Nothing that smelled so foul was going to be pleasant to meet. Such a creature was clearly content with being hated. When Mousie rounded the corner, he saw that his suspicions were confirmed. Upon a gleaming throne of white glass sat a pink lump of flesh, clad in a red cape, with mud and food sticking to the hair of his chin and egg yolk dripping from his tusks. "I don't care about your silly crusade," the pig roared, his cloven hooves flapping in the air. "Sounds to me like your mother lost everything because she was a fool." A young voice rang out from below. "How dare you?" And for the first time since first beholding the horrible hog, Mousie's eyes found the rest of the room. In the center stood an orange kitten in a black tabard over chain-link armor. The kitten drew a sword from the sheath on his back and held it aloft in both paws. The blade gleamed gold in the light, and the spiders in the corners scuttled away to their hiding places. "Don't you dare!" the boorish boar bellowed, with bits of moldy cheese taking flight from his tusks. It was only then that Mousie noticed the black-clad rats hiding in the shadows. Each knocked an arrow to his bow and eyed the kitten. "Kitlet!" Lord Swine leaned forward on his throne of white glass. "Don't die over something so stupid as your mother's honor. Winter is around the bend. Someone will surely take you and your family in." "It's not just about finding somewhere to sleep," the kitten hissed. "It's about our home. My siblings and I were born in that castle." Lord Swine pressed his eyebrows together in sarcastic sympathy. "Oh, you were born there, and I guess you want to die there too, don't you? Well, be my guest. But if you die here, you'll never get the chance to die there, so get out." The kitten grunted, sheathed his sword, and rounded to storm off. But he'd barely taken 2 steps before his eyes met Mousie's, and the young mouse's blood ran cold as he recalled the kitten's face. "You're Felicia's," Mousie squeaked. The kitten hissed, "Vermin!" and reached to draw his sword again. In a flash, Mousie's eyes had already searched the room for a way to escape. He spotted a small hole in the floorboards. If it went deep enough, the kitten wouldn't be able to reach him in there. But before either of them could lunge into the chase, Magos stepped between them and held up a single scolding finger to the kitten. "No, no, 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 no." "Out of the way," the kitten shouted as he struggled to remove his sword from its sheath. "That's the little squeak who stole everything from us." Magos splayed out his fingers and made a slapping motion in the air. Just as he did so, the kitten yelped and stumbled as if an invisible paw had just struck him across the cheek. The kitten's eyes flew wide and his jaw fell open. "I'll thank you not to use such language again," said Magos. "In my day, insults were based on merit, not species." Mousie tilted his head to one side, perplexed by the expression of true terror on the kitten's face as he looked up from the ground again. His whole body sunk low to the floor, and a whimper fell from his lips. "Another? Another mouse with magic?" He turned back to face Lord Swine, his teeth bared. "And you would just let these beasts continue to thrive? Soon spell-wielding vermin will overrun the world, and we'll all see firsthand what happened to the tall apes." "Pah! The end of the world. Superstitious nonsense and ridiculous legends," Lord Swine snorted and waved a dismissing hoof. "You've been defeated, Kitlet. Now leave before you start crying," Lord Swine belched. "It disgusts me."
All right, we're going to take a break, and we are going to go to commercial, and then we'll be back with more of this excerpt of the Courage Fable, Mousie and the Feline Prince.
This is Spencer from Big O Tires and Service in Canyon City.
And this is Jesse, also from Big O Tires, Canyon City.
Say, Jesse, you an Uber driver now?
Nope, this is my very own ride-sharing service. I call it Boober.
I wish I hadn't asked.
You scoff now, but when your car isn't running its best, who are you going to call?
I'm calling Big O Tires and Service. Big O always has the lowest prices on name brand tires from BF Goodrich, Michelin, Cooper, Goodyear, Yokohama, Continental, Big O brand, and more.
Well, gotta admit it. And Big O can handle service work, brakes, shocks, struts, alignments, and lots more. And Big O also has the lowest prices.
Right. We can keep everyone's vehicles in Canyon City running their best.
Well, that's gonna play heck with my Boober car service.
Aw, you'll always be a huge boob to me, Jess.
Thanks, Spence. Hey!
Big O Tires and Service.
Big O, the place to go.
3030 East Main in Canyon City.
There was a time when people loved to listen to their favorite music on the radio. That time was earlier this week. Surprise! Don't you love surprises? Radio is full of surprises. According to Edison Research, radio is by far the #1 source of entertainment in the car. More than streaming, more than CDs, and more than satellite. Reach 9 out of 10 people with your message on radio. You'll be pleasantly surprised.
Call Royal Gorge Broadcasting today at 275-7488.
We are back with Right Time Radio, and we are reading an excerpt from the Courage Fable, Mousie and the Feline Prince, written by Nicholas S. Casal and being read today by the author. Take it away, go.
Picking up again from Lord Swine's dialogue. Now leave before you start crying, Lord Swine belched. It disgusts me. The kitten hid his face in the crook of his arm and ran off, past Magos and Mousie and out the front door. As the armored kitten passed, Wurst leapt up from the welcome mat outside and barked furiously at him. Sir Magos, you've brought me fresh meat, snorted the pink mass above. Yes, Swiney, said Sir Magos, his arms crossed. None other than Mousefred Saurus, the wizard who cured the Toad King's son of swamp plague. I thought surely one with his expertise would be worth your time. A rat crawled across the counter beside Lord Swine's throne. Upon his back sat a bowl full of eggs. The boar shoved his face into the bowl and made such horrible smacking and crunching noises that Mousie wished he knew a spell which would rid himself of his giant ears. What brings you here, Mousefred? I'm just going to call you Fred. I prefer Mousie. Lord Swine stared at Mousie and swiveled his nose. I'm just going to call you Fred, he reiterated, a little slower this time. Sounds fair, Mousie grunted. So, Lord Swine reached a hoof into the sink beside his throne and brought it up covered in syrup. His tongue slipped out to lick the sticky sugars from his cloven hoof, and as he spoke, bits of pasty mess flicked from his lips. According to Magos, you're quite the little hero, Fred. If you've come here for knighthood, I can grant it. Knighthood? Mousie's mouth fell agape at the mere offer. Lord Swine snorted. Yes, knighthood. With ears that big, you'd think you'd listen and not make someone of my importance repeat himself. You heard my household guard calling this one Sir Magos, right? Tell me a hero like yourself has at least enough sense to put that together. Mousie looked back at Magos, who nodded. How bad can Lord Swine be if he's willing to knight a lowly mouse? Sofair whispered to Mousie, at what cost? Mousie turned his attention back to Lord Swine. What would I do as a knight? Guard your farm? Most of the time you'd be free to do as you wished, said the noble pig. But sometimes I'd ask you to go as my representative to other lords, or go to some little village in my lands to tell the serfs my new laws. And of course, if I go to war, you will fight in my army. Mousie shuddered at the word war. I'm not sure how much you want me in your army, said Mousie. He shook his head, letting his ears flop from side to side. I don't take life. I didn't even slay Queen Felicia when I defeated her. Lord Swine snorted with laughter. Oh ho, and how has that turned out, You did something kind for your enemy, and now her son tries to kill you in broad daylight. You must have seen the wrong of such ways by now. Mousie stamped his foot. It's never wrong to show mercy on your enemy. Lord Swine leaned his face closer to Mousie, and the young mouse struggled not to gag on the smell of the boar's breath. By what standard, pup? Asked Lord Swine. No, think about it. Why do you say it's never wrong to be merciful? Mousie stammered for a moment. It's what everyone knows. It's what everyone says, Fred, said Lord Swine, his jowls moving to and fro as he shook his head. What they know is that what's right helps you and what's wrong hurts you. If something makes things better for you, it can't be wrong, and if it makes things worse, it can't be right. The hog gestured at the door with his hoof. You saw my farm when you came in. All of those beasts work for me. Why? Because I'm not afraid to make decisions which would keep them up all night with guilt. I do what's right, Mousie. Whether or not beasts would prefer to think of it as wrong, they all know what's right, and it's far different from what they'll tell you is right. And what is right? Mousie asked. Lord Swine looked away from Mousie and off into the distance. By the solemn look on his face, Mousie could swear he looked upon some banner, visible only to his own eyes. His reverence was truly majestic to behold as he said, Plenty. Plenty is what's right, that all beasts should live in plenty, each according to their needs. For it is when beasts are desperate that they become thieves. But when there's enough food for everyone, and everyone knows their place in the land, then there are no more thieves. Mousie considered it for a moment. Could it be possible that Lord Swine was onto something? This idea of plenty, it seemed so simple. The worst things he'd ever seen his fellow beasts do always happened in the winter, when there was no food. It was then that beasts turned to burglary and murder. Then again, as he thought about it, the kindest things he'd ever seen beasts do always happened in the winter too. For it was an unpardonable wrong to refuse a winter guest, just as it was an unpardonable wrong to harm a winter host. Mousie thought back to the time when his mother welcomed a member of Queen Felicia's day patrol into their home one winter night. That evening, the otherwise vermin-hating weasel proved a surprisingly comfortable pillow for Mousie's head. No, clearly plenty was not the answer, for in times of scarcity, beasts were capable of great kindness too. And this is what you've created here? Mousie said. Plenty? Then that should mean you have no thieves. Indeed, said Lord Swine with a satisfied snort. There are no thieves in my lands. Mousie scratched his own chin. See, that's a bit odd to me, because I had a patient the other day who'd... A what, Fred? Grunted Lord Swine. A patient, you say? Yes, I'm a healer, said Mousie with a shrug. A healer, hmm? Lord Swine scratched the split of his hoof. Yes, we could find great use for a healer. Might not even have to kill anyone. And you could still be a knight. Mousie's nose twitched and his body shivered. My patient ate poisoned food, he yelled. Poisoned food from your farm. Why is your food poisoned if you have no thieves? Lord Swine rolled his eyes. Come now, don't be a fool. No thieves live in my lands, but jealous outsiders from lands where they live in scarcity. They seek to steal my plenty rather than help it flourish. So I have poison on my crops, a poison for which every one of my serfs has the antidote. Lord Swine smirked and puffed up his chest, and which only Magos and I know how to brew. So anyone who eats of my fields must swear allegiance to me, or die from the poison. The rolls of Lord Swine's pink flesh jiggled as he chortled at his own brilliance. The rat guards in the shadows all around him tittered in nervous laughter, some looking down at the floor or exchanging pained glances with one another. By the looks on their faces, Mousie could see they were deeply unhappy. Mousie turned to look back at Magos. The older mouse met his eyes, first with pride, then without feeling at all, then finally with a defeated sigh and a nod of his head. But wait, Lord Swine's voice rang. Didn't you say you had a patient who was poisoned? Mousie looked up at Lord Swine with a furrowed brow and eyes narrowed to slits. Yes, I did, and by the look on your face, I'm guessing you know what that means. Lord Swine babbled and snorted in an incoherent rage. The rats scarcely hid the looks of hope on their faces. Mousie pointed his staff at Lord Swine. All of the rat guards readied their weapons. You and Magos aren't the only ones who can brew the antidote. Mousie turned his eyes to the rats and smiled at them. You don't have to work for him anymore. I can cure the poison too. Take control of your home and slay him, Lord Swine squealed. Kill that mouse. Yes, my lord, said Magos. Mousie turned to defend himself from the other wizard, but before he could imagine anything to shield him from Magos' spell, an arc of lightning flew from the wizard's staff and passed right through Mousie. Rats leapt out of the way as the shocking arcs flew at them and burned a small hole in the wall. Lord Swine grunted in surprise, and the rat guards all tilted their heads in confusion. Magos gave Mousy a knowing look and a nod, then turned to Lord Swine with feigned bewilderment on his face. "It appears he's not actually here, my lord. I can't touch him." Lord Swine rattled his fat head. "Not actually here? Then where is he?" "I don't know," said Magos, "but I will find out for you." "Find his home and destroy it," bellowed Lord Swine. Mousy didn't wait another moment in Lord Swine's house. He closed his eyes and clasped his paws, then opened them again, and he was back in his room.
Yay!
Cool.
I love these stories. Now tell us what the first book is and where we can get it.
The first book is called The Charm Fable, Mousy and the Golden Book. It's the origin story of Mousy and of Sofair, who you kind of heard there, here and there. That's the spirit of the Golden Book that taught him magic. It can be found on Amazon in hard copy for Kindle, and also there's a fully voice-casted audiobook with actors voicing all the individual characters. Very talented voice actors who are all part of the same class together.
Now that sounds cool.
Yeah, also narrated by Miguel Rodriguez, the same one I mentioned before, who has the voice somewhere between Lawrence Fishburne and Morgan Freeman.
Awesome. And then this book is The Courage Fable, Mousy and the Feline Prince. So again, go to Amazon.com. You can purchase these. The audio sounds amazing.
Yeah, that sounds really, especially with all the different characters and all the different voices. And, you know, when we read these excerpts of everyone's books, I always think, I got to know more. I've got to read these. I've got to learn how to use a Kindle.
You have a friend that can teach you that, Miss Sue.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime. Yeah, well, that's the whole point of having authors on Right Time Radio, is we get to expose an enticing amount of their story, and then hopefully people out there who are listening will go purchase their books and, you know, make good things happen in their wallet
For
later
everyone, because, yeah.
But, you know, you don't have to be a published author to be on Right Time Radio. We will entertain any stories that anybody has written, as long as it's family friendly.
I worked on this, so here we go.
Okay.
So if you have a notebook full of poetry, or if you have a drawer full of short stories, or you have your novel that you're afraid to show anyone, please show us.
And how can they do that? Do you memorized the email?
Is it righttimeradio@gmail.com?
It is.
It is righttimeradio@gmail.com. And send us something. We'll look it over. We'll get in contact with you, and we would love to have you on the show. And,
That's right.
you know, I just was joking with Nico and Lynn earlier that, you know, I have some published poetry and I have some published short stories. But when we get these authors on here who are, oh, yeah, I'm on Amazon and my books are in the library, and I feel a little bit intimidated. But I'm not, because we're sharing this with everyone, and we want to encourage everyone. That's what Right Time Radio started to be. That's what we want to be.
Exactly.
Is for you, and when you're listening, and you need to tell us so that we can all share it. We can help each other. If you want to be published, we have people who can maybe talk to you about that.
That's true. We always have advice.
But I know that writers just want to share their work.
Yeah.
They just want to share their work.
And
we can help you with that.
If you're worried that sharing what you've written here is going to mess up your publication, it will not, because this is not published. So.
See, she knows that stuff. So, yeah, it's not going to hurt. In fact, it'll get you some exposure, you know.
True, exactly. And that's what we're here for, is to pay it forward. For me, it's to pay it forward and help other authors get the word out that they've got.
Wait a minute. You want somebody to expose themselves?
On the radio.
You would know. Yes.
I guess that's all right then.
Ta-da!
Yeah.
You know me, I can't leave stuff. I can't leave stuff like that alone. Come on.
We noticed.
Let's take a break for commercial, and when we come back, we're going to talk some more about what Nico's doing, what Sue's doing, and maybe a little bit about what I'm doing. And we have a challenge for the local high schools right after this.
Canyon City is home to one of the top-rated haunts in all of Colorado, Aftermath.
So scary it'll bring you to your knees.
Aftermath is open on the 24th, 30th, and 31st. The ticket booth is open from 7 to 10:30 by the dog park in Canyon City.
Tickets are $20. Bring all your friends.
Proceeds benefit Canyon City Recreation and Park District programs. For more information, go to ccrec.org.
Royal Gorge Radio, along with these local businesses, want to give you free money.
Visit one of these Money Day store locations. In the Alta store in Fremont County, High Country Bank, 150 Reynolds Avenue, Kaleidoscope Inspiration, 602 Main Street, Coyote Coffee Den, Highway 115 Penrose, and Waterhome number 1, 1532 Elm Avenue.
Be present at your favorite Money Day location for Money Day. Same time, 2:30, and same channels, AM 1400 KRLN and 104.5 Star Country.
And if you're a business in the Fremont or Pueblo County area and would like to be a part of our Money Day celebration, just give us a call, 275-7488.
Hey y'all, it's Chelsea Lynn. Join Annalie and myself every Tuesday afternoon at 2:30 at your favorite Money Day location for your chance to win some free cash.
So visit a Money Day store location, register, be present at a Money Day store location every Tuesday afternoon, listen for your name, hear your name, call back, and win. It's that easy.
Don't forget to like us on Facebook for the latest Money Day details.
KRLN weather, sunny and breezy today. Our northwest winds this morning shifting to the southeast to 10 to 15 this afternoon. High today around 76. Mostly clear tonight with a low near 43. Sunny and mild tomorrow, the high around 68. 49 was the low this morning after a high of 80 yesterday. Now at the Weather Center, 64 degrees.
Talk Radio 1400 KRLN.
Okay, before we get started, I want to make sure everybody's aware we are not exposing ourselves on the radio. So, just now that we got that out of the way.
Yes, too shy.
Sure,
too shy
lie
to
to
do these
everybody. I
things.
see you.
You didn't see anything.
All right, about our challenge. There are 2 high schools in our immediate area, is there not?
Right. Florence and Canyon.
Right, one Florence and Canyon City. And in those high schools is a class called Drama 2. And in Drama 2, this sounds like in down in the valley there. And in Drama 2, they are working on one-act plays. Now, last year, I believe it was right about this same time, Mr. Fisher brought his students into the studio and they read from their one-act plays. We did like 4 of them each broadcast, and I think we did 3 broadcasts on that. Some of those students were so good, we had them come back later on and do something they had written outside of class. So, I mean, you never know what's going to happen from this. So,
Well, that's how I met Talia.
it's exactly right. So this is my challenge to the 2 high schools, Florence and Canyon City, drama teachers, Mr. Fisher, and who's the one at Florence?
Ann. Somebody, sorry.
Let us know who you are. We would love for you to bring a group of your students here to the studio on Wednesdays at 9 o'clock. But I need to know ahead of time so I don't have another author here.
A group of 3.
Yeah.
Not a lot of.
Well, we can have a group. We can just cycle them in.
Figure
and
we
out.
could
we'll make
keep
it.
them in the front and cycle them through.
Well,
exactly
we can
that.
keep them locked up in the basement, whatever works.
We can lock them up in the basement. Sounds like a good idea.
And,
for
and
teenagers.
English teachers too. When I was a sophomore in high school, my English teacher actually took one of my assignments and submitted it.
Nice.
Into a contest.
Well,
yeah.
teachers always want to, lift the students up and help them do better.
Encourage your students.
And having them on the show is fun. They do kind of like a live show at the schools. I know when they get to the end of their studies of the one-act play, so they do them for the public as well. But it's just fun to come here and talk on the radio. So Mr. Fisher, and I believe it's Ann at Florence, we really would love to hear from you. So you can email me and Sue. We both get on this email together, and it's Write, W-R-I-T-E, writemeradio@gmail.com. And if you missed today's show, you can go to our website, which is Right Time Radio, again, W-R-I-T-E, Time Radio. www.my-free.website and go to previous broadcasts, and you can listen to almost every broadcast that we've done.
Almost every broadcast.
A few of them have gone into the Ethernet, but most of them are there. So if you missed today's show, you can go there and hear it, listen to it again, share it with your friends. Tell them, hey, we've got this really cool show on our radio station, because KRLN's the best, right?
KRLN.
All right, Nico, what's going to be coming along for you in the future? What else are you working on?
Well, I have put it on hold a little bit, but I have had the third Mousy Fables book in the works.
Nice.
I'm going to take the adventures to a swamp in this case and sort of reunite him with his frog knight friend Serane from the first book. I've also been working on what's commonly called a space opera, and that name for that genre I always feel is a little misleading. No one's singing.
Space opera.
Yeah, space opera is the genre, is the word to describe the genre of things like Star Wars, Dune, and stories like that, where it's kind of a fantasy story in a lot of ways, but happens to take place in
it's
space.
a soap opera, but it's in space.
A little bit, yeah. That's one way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where the term comes from, is that it's like a soap opera in space. And yes, the big reveal of Vader being Luke's father, spoiler alert, is definitely a soap opera kind of reveal if you think about it. So I guess it makes sense that became the term for it.
The only thing missing was the dun dun dun.
Yeah,
Ty has that. He has that.
You have to let me know. You have to give me some kind of heads up on this.
I didn't even know myself. Okay,
just give me just a little bit here.
Okay, we'll give you a minute to find that. Do you have a name for that soap opera or the space opera?
Currently, it's The Prince of Eos. Eos is the name of the moon world that it mostly takes place on. One thing that's been fun to play around with in terms of the setting is that all of the advanced technology is biological. It's all plants and animals that are capable of doing these incredible things, up to and including space travel and things like that. So it's been fun to just come up with these crazy ideas for what certain plants and animals might be capable of.
That's what I love about that kind of genre.
Yeah.
The fantasy
Oh,
and
me
stuff.
too.
Because
It's so much fun
you can
to
do
write.
whatever you want.
Yeah. So, like, for example, you have a creature that is the skin of the spaceship.
Yeah, they call it a shell, and it's this big orb covered in chitin plates. And when it wants to let something in, some of the plates will move aside, and tendrils come down, pick up whoever's going to ride inside, and pull them up inside of it.
I love it. Sorry.
Which is all kinds of creepy, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized there's no way to do a biological spaceship and not make it creepy. So go ahead and lean into it a little.
And you can do anything you want. Yeah.
Oh, that's not right.
Do you have the dun 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 dun? I know.
Perfect.
I love sound effects. That's what's fun about the high school too. Is he brings them on his a little pad. He has them already recorded and ready to go, so we didn't have to scramble and fill them in for him.
What do I look? Chopped liver here? I got stuff.
Oh, I know you do.
I'm looking at this board. Yeah, you've got all kinds of things you can do
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
I wish I knew how to run that thing.
This baby hits 88 miles per hour.
There you go.
I did.
I have to censor that one, of course, because Back to the Future has a little profanity.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
That's why we edited that just a touch.
PG in strong air quotes.
Yeah,
PG.
Can you see the air quotes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, one other thing I know that you're doing, I wanted to talk about it. You've got a story that you and your wife have both worked on together, and you're publishing it in a different way. Talk about that.
Are you referring to Whispered War?
Yes.
Well, Whispered War is actually available on Amazon as well in hard copy, but I did also release it. Well, you can read most of it for free on a site called Royal Road, where they post a lot of serial fiction and that sort of thing. That one's a political intrigue kind of story taking place in a world similar to Renaissance-era France. So you have a bunch of different noble houses that are all scheming against each other and trying to undermine each other, blackmail, sending spies and assassins and everything else, and trying to form marriage alliances and so on. So yeah, that one's a fun one to play around with, and we have started a little bit on the sequel to that.
Nice.
Well, we've started more than a little bit, but we're backtracking because what we were writing wasn't quite going in the right direction. We want to kind of give it a different feel in the second book in the series, which so far is titled Rings of Rebellion, which kind of tells you a little bit of where that goes in terms of the story of that country.
Let them eat cake, is that?
Oh, not quite to that degree. No, it's not a French Revolution story. My gosh.
No.
French Revolution's a little dark for my taste. And that's coming from someone who writes a story about the Black Plague.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But Whispered Wars, as I spit, Whispered War is fun to read. It's fun to read because he was working on that. We were working with him on it in our writers group. So I've heard several chapters of it, and it's amazing where all he takes these people.
Trying to get my head around fun war.
Well, the story is what I'm saying is fun to read, not the war itself.
But
the war's all done
It's a fun story about war.
To the onlooker, you would never know anyone didn't like anybody because they do it. We have a fly in the audience.
We have a fly that's driving everybody crazy here.
So, but I'm just trying to say that it's just really intriguing the way he
it's well written.
I'm trying to
explain.
trying to say. Well, I'm trying to explain that the war goes on in secret. It's all
which is why it's called Whispered. The actual thing about it is that there's a treaty in this country that that all the nobles have agreed to, that if any noble goes to actually make open war on another noble house, every other house in the nation will team up on the one who started it. So they're all afraid to actually have any open fighting, but they still want each other's land and power and money and everything else, so they find more surreptitious ways of going about it. And,
now that is intriguing.
See? Yes. And that's why I was trying to explain that, because and it's kind of hard to explain. I was spitting. Yes, sorry. And the fly's attacking Sue. You know, you never know what's going to happen on a live radio show.
There was an old lady who swallowed a fly.
Oh boy, didn't turn out so well for her.
Do you know how crazy that sounds? Do you know?
But I almost did. It was. The fly was going for the hanger there.
People out there, if you are a writer, you do not have to be published. We want to see what you're writing, and if it's appropriate for our show, we want to have it on our show. If you want a narrator, we'll get you a narrator, or you could read it yourself. Sue and I are trying to put together a poetry day. We've done that before. It takes several poets to do that because poems typically are not very long. So if you have poetry, what did you say, in a shelf or in a drawer?
A notebook full of poetry.
There you go, a notebook full of poets. Sounds like she knows poets.
Yeah, it's like she knows poets and notebooks in drawers.
Yes, exactly. Please give us a message on the email and let us know you've got something, and let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do.
Don't be afraid.
It's fun to come here.
Bring sound effects.
And
we can do sound effects. Yeah,
Nico, we're not too scary, are we?
No.
We've had some authors on here that really were quite intimidated, I guess, by it. But you know what? Sue and I are just good friends, and I tell everybody it's just gals getting together to chat about their books.
Yep, we just make friends with everybody.
It's a lot of fun. So
it's better to do it over the radio like this than to try to go in front of a live audience or something. If you can see the audience, that's when the stage fright comes in. Right now, there's just a microphone in front of me and just a couple people, so it's fine. No stage fright here.
Good.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah. All right. That's all the time we've got today. Thank you for listening to Right Time Radio, and we will be here again next Wednesday at 9 a.m.
Bye.
We are Royal Gorge Broadcasting, AM 1400, KRLN, Canyon City, Florence, and Penrose.